Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Multiverse Fundraiser. I hope you've all been tuning in with us throughout the weekend. To remind everybody, we are fundraising for Comic Books for Kids, which is a charity that puts comic books and other comfort items in the hands of children in cancer wards and other hospitals all around the United States and in several other countries. So we are raising money for them this weekend. You can donate by going to facebook.com/the multiverse fundraiser. We're not just raising funds, we're raising fun, F-U-N. So this is the Indie Authors Panel. My name is Crayle. I am an editor, and for the last several years, I have put together panels where I bring in independently published authors, and we talk about their process. This year, we're doing something special. We are covering serialized fiction, which I've decided to title Chapter by Chapter Publishing. So serialized fiction has been released a chapter at a time. You've probably seen ads on the internet for books where you can buy a couple chapters and then you can either subscribe or continue to individually purchase chapters. This goes all the way back to the days of, say, Dickens, who would publish chapters in a publication that released about once a week, sometimes less. And it's a time-honored tradition that people have strong feelings about sometimes, but I'm bringing in two authors who've chosen to do that after I bring in my co-host, Willow. Willow, say hello.
And already we're getting people in the chat.
Hi, Carl. Carl says hello, Crayle. So we have two authors coming in. First, I'm bringing on VonScott Bair. So we're going to pop you on the stage. Hi, VonScott.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, so I'm not trying to be nepotistic. VonScott is my cousin, but I promise, first of all, don't hold it against him. And second of all, I promise he's worth talking to, not just because, we share some relatives.
Hey, I'm happy to see the family actually get along.
I mean, that's true. That's true.
It's true. Our families don't always get along, but we've been good for
ever.
We're good. All right, VonScott, please tell us what you wrote and which platform you published it on first.
So I originally started with, I used to read a lot on a platform called Web Novel, and on there you can actually publish chapters through the app itself. And I decided to start working on there, and at one point I had 400 chapters on there with about 700,000 words total. And then I took a break and I wanted to do a traditional novel style. And so I started working on my book, and I did it through Amazon, through the Kindle Direct Publishing, because it's a free publishing. All you have to pay for is if you want author copies and stuff like that, and so it's an easier way that you can get your book in front of a lot of people without having to pay a lot.
All right. Thanks for the introduction. I'm bringing in our second author, whose pen name is G.A. Lane. Hey, I forgot to ask. Can we just call you Gwen in conversation for the purpose? Okay, cool.
That's fine.
I love to have the pen name on the screen, so if people ever look you up, they find your book. But
it was a marketing choice.
Yeah. So, all right. This is Gwen, who goes by
your
G.A.
ghostwriter with you.
We do. The manager, Clover. She likes to hang out here. Hi. Can you say hi? Absolutely not, Mother.
We are but peasants beneath her.
Oh, for sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Gwen. And I forget the second thing I was
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to distract you.
What did you write and where did you publish it first?
Thank you. So I published the first of a series. The first book is called Abyss, and it is currently published on Royal Road. I picked it because I had initially tried to publish this traditionally, and then I had a child, and that sounded like a lot of work to do, and I just wanted it out there. And after some research, I decided on Royal Road. And so chapter 11 posted today, which makes 11 chapters, plus including a prologue.
Wow. Carl Witzman says, welcome here to
Hello,
everyone.
Carl.
Hi.
To everyone. Yeah. All right. So, Gwen, you already started talking about this a little bit. So, the first question I had lined up for us today was, why did you choose serial publishing for your books? And you've both touched on it a little bit, but Gwen, do you want to elaborate a bit?
Sure. So I actually have a bit of a publishing background. Some spoilers. Crayle and I were college roommates. And so I went to IU. I graduated with a degree in English. I wanted to go into publishing. A large self-supported publisher was in Bloomington, and I worked there for 5 years. And I got pretty jaded with a lot of self-publishing. So just from being in it. And so I tried really hard for a while to try and find an agent to go the traditional route. And eventually I was just, after getting tons of rejections and also realizing that I had no more time with a newborn at home and a full-time job and like to try and hunt down an agent. And I was like, ultimately, you know what? Self-publishing is fine. Like, it's perfectly fine. My company was rough, but self-publishing is great. I just wanted people to read this story that I spent several years working on. And so ultimately, I gained the courage to finally put it out there, and I published it on Royal Road, and I did that about January, I think. And so I expected to have like maybe a handful of views on each chapter, thinking it would just be friends and family, but I have more views per chapter than I ever expected, which is still only in the some dozens. That is okay, and I'm thrilled with it.
Yeah, it's really great. I've read the whole thing because I was also the editor. Y'all, I chose somebody that I knew from college that I edited for, and somebody that was my cousin, not because those are like.
And you also edited for me too.
Yes, yeah. I didn't know how much you got to use my editing because I got it really close together. I was pregnant when I edited VonScott's second book, so it was really close to his deadline. But serialized fiction, a lot of the authors who publish that way publish under pen names and are a little harder to reach out to unless you're using the comment functions as a subscriber or something like that. So I figured it was better to go with people that I knew in person than people I had paid to get access to. So that's why the favoritism so much for this panel. Not that I'm sure anybody minds, because like I said, Gwen and Scott have great things to
As
say.
someone who reads a lot of other people's stuff, like indie author stuff, I'm very much interested in knowing what you guys, hearing what you guys have to say.
Well, thank you.
VonScott, do you want to elaborate some on why the serial format worked for you, didn't work for you, why you chose it?
So like I said, I originally started on web novel, and I liked it because it kind of let me work through it as I wanted to. When I got the contract for it, it put a lot more stricter deadlines. I had to do 50. I had to have within a 7-day period, 5 days of putting out a new chapter, at least one chapter per day, and each chapter had to have at least 1,500 words. So it was a very fast process, especially because you have deadlines, and if you don't hit them, they kind of reach out to you and say, hey, you're not holding up your end a little bit. And after putting out so many chapters, which you can always bust through a whole bunch of chapters and have them scheduled and all that, but then you kind of get complacent and then you forget, then you're trying to play catch up again. At one point I was just like, all right, I don't want to be rushed like that. And I had 400 chapters at one point, so I had worked through a lot of stuff, and it was like 6 books if I would have done it normally. And I was like, okay, I just need a break. And then I liked that Kindle, you could just self-publish it. They actually have all the tools to help you right there. It was very, very easy. And like I said, they the way they cut their profits on it's not bad, because you can see as you put your price points how much they make, how much you make, and how much even the printing of the book costs. So you can kind of factor that in, and like knowing the difference between how much like a paperback and a hardback cost, it's very interesting. The amounts. That is very true.
Yeah. So Carl Witzman says writing serials is good exercise. As VonScott mentions, you learn deadlines. Also, you can get feedback and learn as you go. How do you guys deal with writer's block if you ever deal with it?
So I had an interesting bit of writer's block because it wasn't so much of a, I don't know what to say. It was more along the line. Many things happen at once. So Abyss book 1 is completely done. It's been done for several years. Like I said, then I had a kid. She's going to be 3 in April. And it was around New Year's that I was just like, I want to get book 1 out there, but I felt like I couldn't get book 1 out there until I had made substantial progress on book 2. And book 2, I had spent all of my creative juices making a creative human. And so I did not have anything left to give to the book or think about where I wanted to go with the story for years. And so it wasn't until I was like, you know what? I need to get book 1 out there. I'm going about this all wrong. Making progress on book 2 is not going to happen unless I get book 1 out there. And because it's finished, I did go ahead and pre-upload every single chapter, but that gives me like truly into like the end of this year. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. End of this year. That's a lovely deadline to try and get the rough draft of book 2 done. And so that actually helped. And the second thing with it was Abyss, and the whole series is like multiple POVs, so multiple main viewpoint characters. One has significantly fewer chapters than the other 2, and I kept in book 2 trying to work hers in, but because hers is completely separate, it's outside of the main story, and I found that was very difficult. So with book 2, my strategy is focus on the main 2, and then I'll write hers separately and then plug them in where I go. And so that's kind of helped.
Okay.
With the writer's block.
So I was currently kind of going through some writer's block. So I finished the second book at it was published at Halloween of 2024. And I was waiting to have the third book out on Halloween of 2025 because I since it's a supernatural cult kind of vibes, I wanted to put it out on the Halloweens. And as I kept on getting closer, I was like 50% of the way done. And I was like, how do I want the end of the trilogy to happen? And there's so many different things. And then I was like, well, if it goes this way, it could be it. So I started fighting myself on trying to figure out how I wanted to end the trilogy, just in case I don't do anything else in this world. I don't want to leave it like how some authors have and leave it to where it's just left lacking or left way too open, and then there's so many questions. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to have it come around and end and give a satisfying conclusion. And that's kind of what I've been working through. I started writing again about a month ago, trying to get it towards that part. So that's kind of my part with writer's block.
Okay.
I do find that goal admirable. I mean, there's an art to leaving things up to the reader's interpretation. But me personally, and I feel like a lot of other readers personally, don't want have gone on all the way up to the end where you're like, okay, but I don't really even know why the ending is what the ending is. And don't get me wrong, there's an art to it, and some readers like to have tons of room to play around in their own head with what it all meant and why it happened and what happened. But for me, I like the ending to feel like arcs came to a conclusion. So I mean, I think you're setting really good
have all your
goals.
characters have the satisfaction of having their storylines concluded.
Yeah, I am struggling right now. I'm working on a short story anthology with 2 other authors that I know, and a lot of times in a short story, you are playing in that art of letting the reader decide, and that's a struggle for me. So, I don't know. We might get that published in 2026, or we might not.
I definitely did leave my first 2 books on cliffhangers on very wild, crazy parts, and I've had many comments of, "How could you do this to me? Why did you leave this book off like this?" And it's like, but it makes you want to have the next book. And that's why I don't want to do that with this one, is because I don't want them to be like, what is going on? I want them to be like, It's like the last season of Game of Thrones, it's not what you wanted, and everyone's kind of mad about it. But the seasons that walking up to that, it was just that's kind of how I wanted to end, with that satisfaction.
When you guys write, do you guys have like a set plan, like a timeline of what you want the book to be, or do you just let it, like, as you write, do you just let it flow?
So I have certain moments in the series that I know I want to hit, but everything in between is kind of a mishmash, and I just kind of let things vibe. And a buddy of mine asked me a few weeks ago, he's like, "Oh, do you make an outline?" And I was like, no, not at all. I try and set a goal for myself of 250 words per day. And I have to remind myself that this is a rough draft. It's not the end. It's not permanent. You can change what you need to. Don't worry about editing as you are writing. Just get your story out there, and then you can go back and make changes. But I also keep a separate document called my scrap pile. So anything that does get deleted gets pasted into there in case I change my mind and want it later.
Oh, that's smart.
I saw that online once as a tip, and I was like, "Ooh, that's good." So much work. I'll save that. And it has come in handy. I have gone back a couple of times and pulled something because it didn't fit in one spot, but it fit somewhere else. And I was like, sweet.
So I don't try to have deadlines in that kind of way. I when I first start building out the outline for the book, if I am working on it, it's like, all right, I kind of want it to have this about here, this about here, this about here, to kind of branch between the main overlying parts of the story. And so it's like, all right, so how do I get from part A to part B to end up at part C? And so I kind of start working through it. And sometimes I found, like, if I'm stuck at one certain spot, I'll think about where that next part is and kind of work my way backwards and be like, all right, I can't figure out how to connect the dots to the labyrinth this way. Let me come around this way to see if I can kind of get it to line up correctly. And that's helped a lot, just because there's some, I mean, I'm trying to set the goal for myself. It's like, I want it to be done on Halloween. So it's like, I know with it by the end of August, I need to have it at least really concrete so that everything can kind of get fine-tuned and finished and all that. So then by the end of September going into October, I can start to kind of put out the teaser stuff and all that and try to do some PR sides of it.
Hollis Thompson says, my stories also usually start with key moments. I then figure out how to build them. So clearly the two of you are in good company. Hollis is also an excellent writer. Just gonna brag on him whenever I can. Carl Witzman says, good job, GA. I took something from 20 years ago and fit it into a current novel. Save everything.
Waste not, what not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dig into something a little less writerly and a little more on the business end of authoring, right? Why did you choose the publishing platform that you chose? Like Gwen, you chose Royal Road. Did you compare a bunch? Did you look at the payment structures, the company policies? Like what all went into deciding to publish on that particular platform?
So you guys are going to laugh. I actually don't quite remember because I did that research like a year or two ago and remember deciding on Royal Road, and then it just got boop, parked. And then when I decided I was going to do it, I was like, I don't remember why, but I remember that I liked Royal Road. I know that it's free to publish. Anyone could go in there and publish anything. And so I liked that, and I liked that it was kind of a home for fantasy stories more so than other platforms are, and that's what mine is. Mine is a fantasy story. And as of late, like when I was in December, when I was finally just rearing up to do this, and I said, I think I'm going to do Royal Road, my husband, who loves serial fiction, loves published web novels, he reads so many of them, he actually said, oh yeah, that's where his favorite author for these published his story. And I was like, great, sold, done. So that was easy enough. But yeah, as far as like the more specific reasonings, past Gwen knew.
You know what? That is okay. That happens to all of us sometimes. You know, it's time goes by, and once you've made a commitment, you've made the commitment, you're with it. Like,
yep.
VonScott, you said one novel, and have you published places other than one novel serially also before you became available on
web novel? I did for the online thing that I did, but the reason why I went with Amazon was because through KDP Direct, you can publish for free and all of that, and not only that, but you can also even enroll it into the Kindle Unlimited program, so then anyone with Kindle Unlimited can see it pop up and they can start reading, and you can actually get stuff from however many pages they read of it. So you can actually see how many pages people have read. So like you can see like, oh yeah, this book has had 8,000 pages read this month, comparably, and all that. And so I went that route because Amazon is such a big company, and everyone has some type of Amazon device, it seems like nowadays. And when my first book came out, I noticed it on my stepson's Amazon tablet. It showed. I was walking by and I saw, because it has like, you know, the ads and everything on the lock screen, my book cover. I went, hold on, how did that pop up there? Because it's not linked to any of my accounts or anything, so it shouldn't have. But it's just one of the new things that popped up and all of that. So you can get that a little bit of some passive recognitions. And also, I heard about a different program on there called ACX, and it's a audiobook thing where you can actually find voice actors, and you can make arrangements for either like a royalty deal or whatever, and they'll voice your book, and it automatically gets fed right into Amazon, and then you can go on to Audible. So it was a good ecosystem for me to be able to do multiple things and let people choose between if they want to read it digitally on an e-reader, if they wanted to read it in paper, or listen to it. Like my brother-in-law, he was driving back from Florida and was listening to the first book, and then he randomly sent me messages about certain chapters, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot you were reading this, because there's a little bit of some spiciness in a couple different chapters, and I was like, oh no. So, you know, it was a very interesting time.
It is a very surreal experience having loved ones read your story. My husband is reading it. You know, he was with me throughout the whole writing process and the editing process, and I've read the book to him several times, but it's been a few years. And so he's reading it as it uploads onto Royal Road. And a couple weeks ago, he's talking to me about one of my main characters and arguing with me about her traits. And I'm just like, okay. Then eventually he goes, why am I arguing with you? You know, as if you're the author. And I was like, I wasn't going to say anything, but, and so then he picked it up and he started reading it again. I was like, are you looking for evidence to support your argument? He's like, maybe. So, it was very
That's
fun.
the kind of reader retention you want, though. You want those people to work and engage in that, because I have a friend, his stepdad's sister has messaged me several times, like, hey, why did this happen? When's the next book coming out? And she'll like ask him, hey, you should tell him to put it out. It's like, yes, I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, it was really fun, and it would have been so easy just to be like, well, I'm the author, so I know, and just completely shut down that conversation, but that wouldn't have been fun for anybody. And there's the concept of the death of the author, where once you put it out there, it doesn't matter what the author says or thinks. Your interpretation is a completely valid interpretation, which it is, which is why I was wanting to have a discussion about it, but ultimately he agreed with me. so it was fun.
I think once it gets out there, some people kind of get like that parasocial attachment to those characters, and they kind of attach to them in different ways. But that makes your characters living, and that makes them feel alive, and that helps gain that attention and everything like that. So I kind of like it when people go like that. It's like, that's fine. You can think that. The way I interpreted them, some other people might think of them differently. So it's a nice way of making sure it kind of almost stays fresh, because if you leave it like that, you can have different people think of it from different ways. Like with the Harry Potter, some people thought some things about some people certain ways, other people thought about them some other ways. And then there's like that middle gray area where it actually truly kind of goes through. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question from Hollis again. I didn't talk over you, did I, Willow?
No. That's what I was gonna do.
Okay, cool. Do either of you think there is a new market opening up for print serialized fiction, like pulp fiction magazines used to be?
I would love to say yes. Unfortunately, just with how digitally everything is nowadays, newspapers in particular are really struggling, just because people don't buy the newspaper anymore. They get all their news online. And so I think unless a bunch of people want to publish their books serially in print and can save a platform that would do that for them, unfortunately, I think that is not something that is going to be feasible, as much as I would love it to. I love print books so much. I love having them. I love flicking them. I love smelling them. You see, I have a ton back there. That's not even all the bookshelves. There's more over here. But I just don't see a future of publishing them in print, as awesome as that would be.
I kind of have to agree. We're all moving so digitally and stuff, and that's kind of like why I kind of try to beat it at two different heads of having the option to do the print or have it digitally. But I mean, just look at everything else. 25 years ago, everyone was grabbing DVDs and VHSs, and now no one knows what a Blockbuster anymore is, and my back hurts every time someone says that.
Oh,
I know.
Thanks, man. To that end, though, there is a trend of books that have been published serially being picked up by traditional publishers and being printed. I mentioned my husband's favorite, A Practical Guide to Evil is his favorite web novel. And within the last couple of years, it got picked up and by a traditional publisher and is available in print, which I think is just so cool for independent authors and people who are publishing their web novels online. Because that was also one of the things that kind of really spurred me on, because I would love to hold a copy of a book in my hands, like of my book. That would be so cool. But, it's not the end goal, but that is like a little star in my sky of possibilities. And so and that's not the only one. Several others have been picked up, and it's just must be so
cool. Carl.
And oh lordy, I don't remember the title of the one Daniel just read, but he he blasted through the whole series because it just got picked up, and he wanted to read it all while it was still free before it got changed too much.
Well, that's like solo leveling too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Laura Olympus also, I had meant to for years to read it when it was still a webcomic. And then I didn't get around to it. And thankfully, my grandma very generously bought me like 3 volumes for Christmas one year. But yeah. We are at the halfway point, so I'm going to roll a little video ad about the charity we're supporting. Hello, everybody. If you just joined or came in partway through, this indie authors panel is part of the Multiverse fundraiser. So we're raising funds for kids. You're going to hear all about it in this video that hopefully will play when I click on it.
The Multiverse fundraiser is partnering with Comic Books for Kids to raise money for their cause. Their mission is to provide comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the United States, Canada, and the UK. We believe in the importance of providing stories that promote hope and bravery to kids who are facing things that are scarier than any supervillain. And we truly believe in this cause. To donate, you can either go to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/the Multiverse Fundraiser or directly to comicbooksforkids.org.
All right. I didn't write this down or anything, but would either of you like to talk about what the Comic Books for Kids mission means to you? Why you decided to be part of this particular fundraiser?
I like what they're trying to do, and I was a Shriner for several years and everything, so I've been there to help kids with stuff, and I've been to the hospitals and helped the kids in those places and seen what people that truly are just there to help can do to save lives. And I've been stopped in the middle of the street before and I was like, hey, I saw your license plate that you're a Shriner. You guys saved my life when I was a kid and stuff. I'm like, you're welcome. And it's just one of those things, and it's a big honor, honestly, to be able to help support them.
And as for me, my day job is in child welfare, behind the scenes, but still in child welfare. And kids go through the toughest things, whether it's their home life or a medical diagnosis or, Lordy, sometimes both together. And anything we could do to help kids and just put a smile on their face through going through the toughest times in their lives is truly incredible. And I like helping kids. Kids are great. Kids are awesome. And if, a comic book gets them through the day, I would love to be able to do that.
And while Comic Books for Kids, the biggest thing is comic books, they do also provide other comfort items. I'm pretty sure they have a sponsorship through Funko Pop. And so not only is it, getting kids to read is great, but sometimes if you're sick, you don't have the energy, or some kids are a little too small to read very much at a time. So they really are about putting together these really in-depth care packages of new items, and most of the money that goes directly to them, because they thankfully have so many partnerships with companies like DC, Marvel, Funko Pop. Most of it goes to shipping these big care packages of new items that are still in the packaging, which they need to be like to meet cleanliness standards and stuff, gets really expensive. I don't know how many of you watching today have had to ship things lately, but that.
And I'm in Canada, and that is really expensive to ship to the US and vice versa, for the US to ship to me. So anything that you guys give for our charity, it helps a bunch.
It really does. The Multiverse fundraiser and the Phoenix Sisters Network that it's hosted on, we don't touch any of the money. When you donate through Facebook, it goes straight to Comic Books for Kids. If you don't use Facebook, you can go to comicbooksforkids.com, and there's a donate button there. They use PayPal, so they can process it all the different ways PayPal can process. And if it comes in this weekend, we usually do tend to include it in our numbers because people hear the message thousands of times throughout the week that we are running these videos, because we have the live events for 3 days and then we run it for another week. So you have a week to donate, folks. And if you're a comic book creator, also you can reach out to Comic Books for Kids through their websites and donate your comics. That's huge. We have connected a couple of different indie publishers who have kids. One of them was Brian Rodman, who has the Nebulizer, which is great for asthmatic kids, especially. And they developed a relationship with Comic Books for Kids. So any way that you can get involved with them, if part of your passion is helping kids who are going through a really hard time, reach out to Comic Books for Kids. They're phenomenal. But to get us back to our indie authors content, what do you guys think are some of the major cons to publishing serially? Are you guys having any things you don't like about it? Any struggles with it?
No. So what I'm about to say now, knowing that Gwen was a part of the publishing house and publishing side, is
I'm now working child welfare. This is a safe space.
Okay, we listen, we don't judge. Gotcha. So I think a major con, for at least for me, when doing self-publishing versus like traditional publishing, is with traditional publishing, it gets thrown out to so many places, and there's so many more people that see it. They push it through so many places, where when you self-publish, it's all grassroots. You have to you put it, what you receive is what you put out. So if you're going to all these different cons with all your books and stuff, like I wish I could do some of that, but I have a family, so I can't go every weekend to different places and everything else. But I try to do my best. And now when you Google my name, the first things that show up are my book stuff, and it kind of gives me imposter syndrome a little bit, because it's like, is this really me? Did I really do this? But at the same time, it's really, really cool that, that's the first thing that comes up now. So I feel doing the self-publishing, you get a stronger grassroots community compared to a more corporate, thrown everywhere, and who, it's like standing in one of those hurricane simulators with all the money. Eventually there's a few people that will grab some of them, but that book can sit on their shelves for years before they ever read it, or that can sit at a publishing house for years before it ever gets published.
Mm-hmm. And then they own the rights, and it's not like you can really do anything on your own because that's theirs now. Yep. And that is super frustrating. So I sympathize. As for me, my biggest con at this point, I guess, is specifically the grassroots. I don't really know how to go about it. Mostly, I've just been telling people that I've published a book online on Royal Road. And the problem with that is I'm a little self-conscious about it, because it's not, I know that it is well written, but when you make a book, it is very much part of like yourself. And it's a very it's a very vulnerable part of yourself, because it's like, I've made this, I hope you like it. And they can look at it and go, ew, no. And that's scary. So the biggest hurdle I have to get past as far as promoting my book, because it is published on online, is myself. So like, my in-laws are the sweetest people. I haven't even told them that I've published a book yet. I'm just so nervous. So that's the biggest struggle.
One thing that you might want to look at, so there's a website called Fiverr, and you can actually have people on there. You can do a lot of that type of marketing stuff, and they can help put it to they're in like several different like Facebook groups for that. Also finding Facebook groups for that kinds of stuff. You can share your stuff on there. It's a little bit of a grind sometimes, but at least it kind of starts to get out there.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll have to look into that for sure.
Yeah.
Also, if you pay somebody a small one-time fee on Fiverr, they get to go brag on you, and you're not doing it bragging on yourself.
Exactly.
But I'm going to tell you two and the other authors who listen to this that you have to get over being shy about bragging about yourself on the internet. How you handle things with people you know, that's going to be different regardless of who you are.
That works for almost everything. Like I'm the worst when it comes to my podcasting. I am the worst at promoting my own stuff, and whenever I hear myself come up on Spotify, I'm like, oh my god, no.
But once you're like putting it out there on the internet, people can only see what you've said. So if anybody's going to be positive about you, it's you. So, pump yourself up. It's okay. People understand when they read a post where you're saying, look how great it is that I wrote this book. That, okay, they either understand that that's not you saying, I'm a self-centered jerk person. You're only talking about your book and how people might want to read it. People who do see people promote themselves and go, what a self-centered jerk. They were never going to buy anything from you anyway. Okay. Yep. If they had seen another person say, hey, I read this book by my friend, it was really great. They're going to go, oh, well, you're just, there are people who are going to always think something negative, but the people out there who do understand where you're coming from, who might be in the audience for your product, can't see it if you don't say it.
So I will also say, go to your local bookstores. Talk to them, especially if you have a book coming out. Like for my second book, there's a bookstore in Seymour, and I reached out to them, and I actually had a book signing. And I took 20. Cool. I took 20 in my first books, 20 in my second books, and I sold. It was a 4-hour book signing, and I sold out underneath the first hour.
That's awesome.
And I didn't know how I felt. Like I was like, because like I was expecting maybe 1 or 2 books. I was expecting to take a whole bunch, but there's a lot of people that came through, and people that were kind of on the fence about it. And I started explaining. They're like, "I'll give it a try," and then they'll either grab the first one or the second one. Some grab both, and it's a weird feeling because then you also are signing the book, and you're like, it took me a while to figure out what to say on the front of books. It's like, thanks for your patronage, or thanks for buying it. You're a cool dude. It was kind of weird, but I was like, okay. And then, so after a while, it came a little bit better. And that's what I'm going to try and do for my third book too, is reach out to 3 or 4 different local bookstores and be like, hey, I have some books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hollis agrees that marketing is the single hardest part of writing for him. Hollis actually, Kelly and I, since I'm an editor and she's an author, we actually are starting to offer some consulting services for self-published authors, where since Kelly did the self-publishing, she can walk you through a lot of the process and help you do some of that price comparison, understand what your rights are to what you wrote based on which services you use and things like that. And then I have an over decade long marketing background. I did 7 years in nonprofit marketing and then moved into the private sector. And now I own my own business. We do our marketing in-house. So Hollis actually purchased a package. I hope it's okay that I'm telling people that you wrote a review for it. You're
really
fine.
Remember, you have to promote yourself.
Yeah, remember, you got to be confident.
So we haven't finalized them yet, but so I did something like the people on Fiverr would do that VonScott was mentioning, where I put together a set of social media posts that you can mix and match however you want. I helped write 2 different versions of back cover text. A lot of authors really struggle with back cover text, and that's so important to your marketing. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how many authors close their little printout copy and go, I wrote the whole thing. I just reread it. Why can't I say what my book is about? Sometimes it's easier to have another person do that. So there are packages you can buy. I also wrote a press release that he was going to publish that he could take to local papers so that they could be like, hey, this local professor wrote a book. It's going to be available in these places or whatever. People forget about press releases nowadays, but a lot of online news sources will still just copy paste your whole press release with minimal minimal alterations to what you submitted in your press release. And so then people who do subscribe to the online newspapers or whatever will see local papers want to talk about local people. So that's
I made
angle.
a professional Facebook page, just an author page. That way, whenever I have all that kinds of stuff, I post it on there and then share it.
Yeah. So marketing is hard. Marketing yourself is awkward and hard. So the parts of it that you can afford to outsource, there's no shame in doing that. Most small businesses outsource a lot of their marketing as soon as they can afford to, because it's hard. You want to spend your time making the thing that you're making, not selling it.
Yeah.
And also it's a different skill set. So some people are struggling in marketing and think my book must be really bad. It's probably not. You probably need marketing help. So whatever small, like find other indie sources you can, find freelancers who can help you, like you probably can't afford a big marketing firm, but there are micro marketing businesses out there. So that's an option always to remember. When we were talking about publishing houses, Carl Witzman says even the publishing houses don't do promotion anymore. So it's all in the lap of the author, no matter which way you go.
That's so sad.
Yeah, that was.
So at that point, what's the point of going the bigger route?
Because then they can put on their book, oh, well, we're a part of this publishing house. And there's some people that are very elitist like that just go to those types of things because it will pop up in Walmart more and everything like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the publishing company that I worked for was a supported self-publishing, and they worked with some of the big names in the business. They had self-publishing imprints for Simon and Schuster, and Westbow was their Christian publishing, and it was something else, to say the least. But they had the authors there had people on the back end, which was my job, to help them through the publishing process. But even so, like, people still went into it with the misconception of, well, then they will promote my book for me. And instead I was like, no, we'll make all of these materials, these marketing materials for you, but it's up to you to get them out there, or you can pay us extra to do it. And so that was, remember how I said I was a bit jaded? So I don't work there no more. But one of the things, having a toddler, don't have a whole lot of extra money. So one of the things that I decided to do was I made my own cover design. I kept it simple.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I painted it. And so
that was actually my next question for you guys, was about the artwork and how you go about choosing it.
Okay. When it comes to my book, as far as like art design goes, I am a bit of a minimalist. I'm a maximalist in the rest of my life. But with the book, I wanted it to be minimalist because, one, I think would be a more striking cover on Royal Road, and two, it was within my skill set. So I painted it. I think I used acrylic. Oh no, I was an angry trip to Michael's when I realized I didn't have black paint at home. In my pajamas at 8 p.m. on like a Monday. I was so mad. So
not judging you on that, because I'm pretty sure there's been a lot more interesting people walking into Michael's.
I'm sure, but it was just that's how that came about. And then it was just the painting, and then I had seen, I don't remember where I saw it, but an ad for Canva, and so I was just like, I can do that. So I made my painting, waited for it to dry, set it up on my kitchen island, let nice dark gray light from my back door filter in so I could get a decent picture and show all the texture. Mood lighting. Took that picture, then went into Canva and added the fonts and saved it. And I was just like, yeah, I did it. So
my first two covers I made myself using AI assistance, just because I didn't have the money to do anything else at the time. But I actually am working with a very, very good artist for my third cover, and I'll be able to say more about that once everything is done with the consultations and all that. And all that. I'm super duper excited because if that goes well, I will definitely want him to do the first two and redo those so that there's true artistry for all three books and all that. So, I mean, I did it the way I did because your book has to have a cover.
Mhm.
And I just had to do what I needed to do with the funds I had available. That's another reason why I went the free publishing route, because I didn't have the money to spare because I was taking care of my family. So being able to make it myself, I'm already a perfectionist as it is when I'm doing that stuff. So it took like, I think I did like 700 different generations just to get the first, and there was like 90 different things to even add together. So I still went into Canva and I still added all these different parts and changed lighting and all that.
Mhm.
So it's not like it was just one image that just came out, but I definitely want to support other artists, and I know that's always been a hot topic thing about AI art stuff and all that. So I've always been fully transparent on my stuff. Like, it asks you when you upload, hey, is any part of it computer generated? And I put on my covers and all that, just because I don't want anyone to think that I'm lying to them about that stuff.
Yeah.
That's so, but I can't wait to actually have the artistry that's about ready to happen.
Yep. For those who don't know, hashtag not a sponsor, as our other co-host Ryan says sometimes. If you pay for Canva Premium, which I'm not saying you have to, the free Canva still has a lot of good tools. One of the things you get access to is a lot more available in their stock image library that you can use for commercial purposes. Because sometimes you get access to stock images and find out that it's only for personal use. And so one of the things that I do like about that is I know I'm not like doing anything illegal or cheating somebody or stealing their stuff if I start with a stock image and mess around from there. So yeah, finding stock images is harder than it sounds like. Sometimes you go on the internet, people go, just find the right stock image. And it's like,
stock images don't always convey what you're wanting to convey.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a very niche thing that you're into, like supernatural occult voodoo stuff and all that. That's in mine. It's harder because you either get one side of the axis or the other, and it's like there's more nuanced niche things than that. And when you type in werewolves, you either get somewhere between Twilight or the $5 smutty books that you find at the Walmart that all the old ladies get. It's like, it's neither. It's a little bit towards like the World of Darkness area of that kind of thing. But like, no, but yes.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to make my own cover, was because I knew that if I shelled out the money to like find stock anything, that I would feel that it would look really cheesy. Because the point of my books is that it starts off really playing into classic fantasy tropes, and then quickly flips it. And like, my hero really wants to be a hero, but he doesn't get to be a hero. And the bad guy is actually the good guy trying to find somebody pretending to be the bad guy. And so I knew that if I went searching on stock images for anything that related to my characters, it would seem very, very cheesy. And if I went to pay a professional artist to do something, I would not be able to afford that, because they should rightfully charge the prices they do.
Absolutely.
But that does not mean I can afford them.
Yeah.
So what I can afford is a bottle of black paint from Michael's at 8 p.m. on a Monday.
Nice little cup of some wine as you're doing it. Just let you feel it. Oh yeah.
Yep. So my husband was playing a video game while I sat on my living room floor and I painted it, and it was great.
Yep. All right, Carl Witzman coming in. If y'all don't know Carl Witzman, you can find his books on lulu.com. I don't know. Carl, put where we can find your books in the comments. He's been writing for many moons, so he would know when he says, as I always say, the only people who get imposter syndrome are those who have actually accomplished something. Those who don't do anything don't have a reason to feel like an imposter.
Good advice.
So for the writing part, all right, Carl says Lulu is correct. So if you go to lulu.com and look for Carl Witzman, he has a great work that's started out based on true crime, and then he like filled in the holes with his own like murder mystery story. It was cool. It's been on my to be read list forever, but I've heard him talk about it so much. I know it's good, even though I haven't read it yet. That sounds weird to say, but it's on my list, I promise. We only have a few minutes left, so I want you guys to talk about your books. So VonScott, go first.
Okay.
Tell us about
So
Veil
my
of the
first
Voodoo
book is
City.
called Veil of the Voodoo City, about a guy named Elijah Broussard who gets a call from his aunt Clara that his father is passing away. He doesn't have much time left, and if you want to talk to him, he needs to get back to New Orleans. So as he gets there, his dad's moments from dying, he whispers some very cryptic things and hands him a very ornate old silver key. And so it kind of goes through about him learning that his family were not even hunters, they were more or less kind of like the arbiters of ensuring that the supernatural world and the natural world never really phase through and pass that veil between the two sides. So there's werewolves that get come in. There's a vampire family. There's I kind of made my own kind of demonic possession type of people called Inferni, which are kind of that kind of vibe. So there's a lot of almost geopolitical warfare between the factions, and Eli's kind of just stuck in the middle as someone that's trying to keep the mess from spilling out into the public as well and not knowing anything, and is kind of always running from one dumpster fire to the next and trying to make sure everything's fine. So that I'll leave it at that for Veil of the Voodoo City.
Yeah, no, it's good. It is really niche for readers. So like if you're like, okay, do I want sort of like a supernatural vibe, but a different setting instead of it being like Midwest cornfields setting, and then the romance aspect in it picks up a lot by the second book. I felt if that's your bag, give it a try. Okay. All right, go ahead and tell us about Abyss.
So Abyss actually got its start as a bit between my husband and I. I joked about how funny it would be for him to do one of his World of Darkness campaigns where they're looking for the bad guy, but turns out the bad guy is with them the whole time as a sort of a, you're looking for me? How's that going? Sort of thing. And so functionally, there's 3 point of view characters. The main 2 are Abyss, who is the goddess of darkness and all shadows. She can shapeshift into any form. She can be as large or as small as she wants to be, as hard or as soft as she wants to be, and she lacks creativity 100%. She cannot create anything, which means she cannot lie. And then there's Tamer, who is captain of the King's Guard of the Kingdom of Al-Faryad, a kingdom that has known peace for 200 some years because they have shut out their borders to all other countries, and therefore he has nothing to do because there's nothing to protect the king from. There's no war. And so, but he is excited because he's going to be a great hero one day in a kingdom that does not need heroes. And so until one day, his best friend is killed in an attack by the Abyss. the character Abyss, who hates being referred to as the Abyss, for the record, happens to be there in her human form. She goes by the name Abel in her human form and sees this person do this attack, kill his friend, claim to be her. And so she just joins Tammer in his quest for revenge to try and figure out why this person is impersonating her, and ultimately to find the artifact in the Kingdom of Alfreyad called the One Fire. And because she just wants to check it out to see what it is. So yeah, it's very fun. And
Now I must go and buy your book.
Yeah, well, it's free. You can read it for free on Royal Road.
You can read it for free on Royal Road. So we've got links wherever you're viewing this to get either VonScott or Gwen's work. And also don't forget to donate. I'm going to roll us out here. Thank you both so much for joining us. This was a great conversation.
Awesome.
Carl said we had a good show. It's not just me saying that. And I'm going to play us out here. So please, please, please donate to Comic Books for Kids. They are super great and important. Bye.
The Multiverse Fundraiser is partnering with Comic Books for Kids to raise money for their cause. Their mission is to provide comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the United States, Canada, and the UK. We believe in the importance of providing stories that promote hope and bravery to kids who are facing things that are scarier than any supervillain. And we truly believe in this cause. To donate, you can either go to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/The Multiverse Fundraiser or directly to comicbooksforkids.org.
The Multiverse Fundraiser would like to thank our sponsors: Earth Dog Studios, Clobbern Comics, The Art of Brian Rodman, Studio Moonfall, Elusive Comics, and of course, the Phoenix Sisters Entertainment Network for hosting this event. Learn how to support these businesses on the MVFR website.